Okie dokie. Back here in my lounge, actually. Uh, Call me crazy. Lots of people do, but I think I'm going to make my musical instrument out of this. What is this? It's a pallet riser. Found it on the street. It's made out of particle board, so its resonance is not going to be great, but maybe I want to actually, clamp that a little bit. Here is the hunk of wood that I showed you in the Helmholtz resonation video. And so I think this is going to be the substrate. Uh, this is going to, if I glue this to this, it's going to be really firm. Now in a guitar, here's a guitar, I'll show you that later. There's usually a truss rod. There's something that's reinforcing the wood so that when you stretch your strings, the neck doesn't bend, right? It doesn't bend. So I also got a hunk of metal here. I don't know what this is from, some table. That might be useful for reinforcing, but I really think that if I glue this really nice glue and screw to this substrate, this isn't going to bend at all. And so why do I want to use this? Well, I got this elevation, which is very interesting because I know that my pickup is going to be big. I'm going to be using all kinds of weird stuff underneath my strings. So having something really easy to mount on and with this elevation is gonna allow me to fabricate this instrument fairly easily, I think. So what am I gonna need? I'm gonna need some hunks of wood, probably a lot of glue, a lot of glue. I will almost certainly need one of these. This is a cordless drill. Nice. Everybody should have one of these. If you don't have a cordless, corded is good too because then you don't have to worry about charging your batteries. But then the cord sometimes gets in the way of the work. I'm going to need strings. All right, so here I got some old bass guitar strings from my electroacoustic bronze wound steel core. Again, we want steel because we need to actuate the magnets. And so, old guitar strings. Here at the studio, I got guys who, they're playing, they're doing their heavy metal riffs or whatever, and they're breaking perfectly good guitar strings all the time. And they just rip them off and toss them on the floor and put a new string on. But the old string is just fine, especially the very thin ones. They tend to break a lot. And so I got these materials and I got this, right? And so I really kind of want to take advantage of the Helmholtz principle or the marimba, Senegalese marimba principle to create really pockets, little pockets of frequencies. So I got these tin cans, right? My puppy dog eats one of these a day, so I got tons of tin cans. Or maybe tin can is not the best thing. But go check out my piezo microphone videos because I'm thinking, wow, man, if I had a bunch of Helmholtz resonators that are different volumes, set to that are going to capture different frequencies, and then I have a piezo underneath each one of those resonators, and then I've got my magnetic pickups all over here. I can really create a multi-stringed, multi-frequency instrument, and that's my idea. And okay, if you're doing this for the first time, I would suggest a hunk of wood. There's a nice hunk of wood here I got from a table or something, really heavy, really solid. 2 nails or 2 screws, a string, 1 string, a little pickup, a little coil and a magnet, and 2 wires going into your amplifier. If it's the first time you've done this kind of thing, I would suggest starting here. But I've done this before, so I'm being ambitious, and so I want to make this big instrument. Now, but at the same time, I'm thinking about building this giant head. Now it's getting heavy. It's got to fit into my car, right? So it can't be too big. I got to be able to move it because I gig with this stuff. And so I'm already thinking in terms of my logistics as I'm designing this instrument. Now this is a crazy instrument, it's way too big. It's a xylophone, and xylophone players, they got a hard life. Just like double bass players, they got a hard life because their instrument is so huge. They're really hard to move. But I don't care. This is the way I want to do it. I want to have a big surface to work on. I want to have lots of places that I can put my strings. The strings, right? The strings will go across this here somehow, right? And maybe they'll be secured to this, and then maybe there'll be a thing here. And now I'm starting to think, oh, this is kind of maybe a little bit like a hammer dulcimer, maybe a little bit. So maybe I'm going to play it with sticks, but I can always play it with my fingers, or I can bow. And again, because this is big, I can set up my strings where I have lots of room to bow, so that my strings are not all really close together. So that's why I kind of chose this piece of junk that I found on the street as the sort of acoustic resonating box substrate for my instrument. Now, what else am I going to need? Well, I'm going to need some tuners. I need a way to tune the strings, to stretch the strings, and then set them up, tension them to exactly what I want. So maybe this. This is a busted headstock from some piece of crap acoustic guitar. But what it is it's a way to tension the strings. I can tension the strings. But yeah, okay, maybe I do something like that. Who knows? Or like that. I don't know yet. But this is a Portuguese guitar. Oh, out of tune, by the way. And it has a very interesting way. I'm going to stand up and sort of move this closer. It has a very interesting tuning mechanism. It's basically a threaded rod with something you can get a grip on, and a little thing that catches the string, and it's really precise, and it's really kind of an elegant tuning system because it's actually kind of a low stress tuning system, tuning mechanism. And so I'm thinking that this is maybe the way I'm going to tune my strings. And so I'm thinking also that, okay, well, how do I make one of those? Well, it's a bolt, and it's a threaded rod. So I'm probably going to need some of these threaded rods. And then maybe I weld, or already it has the little turn key on it, something I can spin, and then that's maybe what this hunk of metal is going to be, so that these get anchored into here, and I weld some bolts, some kind of thing to hold them really tight, and then I can make the stretch. I can stretch the string. So what else am I going to need other than my drill and maybe a couple other more high-end tools? I'm probably going to need to weld. Now, welding mask. Safety first, kids. If you don't know how to weld, be careful. Be careful. But I've been welding since I was young, 20, 18. So I love it. It's a lovely process. When you're just melting with all this high energy heat, and it's all going sparky everywhere. It's just I love it, and it's one of those Zen things. So I just enjoy doing it because it is this kind of Zen process. So I'm probably going to need to weld. But again, if you're doing this for the first time, you got your hunk of wood, right? You got your hunk of wood. Maybe you have this, or really just 2 screws, because if you can tighten the screw, you can actually tension the string. So be creative in terms of the physical mechanism. And again, if you're just starting out, hunk of wood, 1 string, 2 strings. Don't be too ambitious at first. And certainly just start by how can I get the principle going with the simplest things. 1 coil, 1 magnet, 1 string, 2 screws, and a hunk of wood. Yeah. Helmholtz resonation. Let's see what I can do with that.